I think this is a really interesting topic for us to be discussing today. I am fortunate enough to be the director of the UK's oldest purpose-built art gallery. It opened to the public in 1817, and with that comes huge responsibility. And the thing that I try to keep grounded about is the fact that ultimately Dulwich Picture Gallery is about great art. And I like to think about the way that that art functions and the power that that art has. For instance, we have a painting in the picture gallery, which is a portrait of a lady called Venetia Stanley. And she died in 1633. In 1633, her husband lost her. A man lost his wife in 1633, nearly 400 years ago. It happens to us all that we lose somebody, but the man in question was Sir Kenelm Digby. Sir Kenelm Digby was a member of high society, of the elite. He moved in circles that meant that he was familiar with an artist called Anthony van Dyck, who had come across from Antwerp to paint the royal family. And in the early 1630s, he was painting Charles I and his family. And so when Kenelm lost his wife, his first instinct was to call upon Van Dyck to come and paint her corpse in bed, because that was his way of coming to terms with his loss. Now, I think the point you raised, Philip, about patronage is so important, because Van Dyck would have never had access to Kenelm Digby's grief had Kenelm himself not had the wealth to pay for Van Dyck to come. And there is a certain amount of power and control that comes with a commission of that type. But in my experience of it, once an artist is there on the scene, then they take control. No matter what the limitations of a commission, an artist has the ability within a certain framework, but we all work within a framework, and that is where creativity can flourish best. The artist then takes control of the situation. And Kenelm Digby wrote about this painting after it had been finished and said, Van Dyck painted my late wife perfectly. He got every detail right. Apart from, he added a flower. He added a flower on the bed that was falling apart, that was dying. Van Dyck took that moment and the privilege of going into an intimate, grief-ridden state, a room, and to have that ability to go in and get close to Kenelm's late wife, and then to paint her and add in some poetic license. And there's something that I notice when I look at that painting, and come to Dulwich Picture Gallery, see it for yourselves.
That is the advert, by the way.
That's
She's
the
going
commercial.
to give you a map at the end.
I will. But when you come in and look at that painting, you'll notice that it's painted at a very strange angle, because what Van Dyck decided to do was to paint Mrs. Digby as if he was leaning right over her. And when I look at that, and it's changed in the way I look at it over the years, when I look at that, I think that actually Van Dyck has channeled the way that Kenelm would have leant over her as if he was going to give her a last kiss. And Van Dyck chose to do that. And it is heart-stoppingly beautiful, and means a great deal to me, even more so since I lost somebody recently, my mother, the most important person to me. And it means so much to me, that painting. So despite the wealth and the elitism and all of the trappings around the creation of this painting, ultimately it's something deeply human. And that, for me, is a way in for people to great art. The fact that it exists at all means that we can have a connection to a human emotion 400 years ago that can feel as current as if it happened just yesterday, because we can all understand loss, and we can understand great art, and we can understand the poetry, that moment when Van Dyck made those crucial decisions to create a painting that has so much power. So the responsibility that I have and my team have at Dulwich Picture Gallery is to try and open that up in various ways to as many people as possible, because then people can find those connections and can ultimately find themselves in great art.
For more debates, talks and interviews, subscribe today to the Institute of Art and Ideas at IAI TV.